Today, reaction to a guilty verdict in a Taber man's child molestation trial. Plus, a CTV exclusive.
They have not lost all of their money.
A former Lethbridge pastor at the center of a $500 million class action lawsuit speaks out. And Lethbridge men walk a mile in her shoes.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. 8 men and 4 women have decided the fate of a former Taber resident charged in a horrific child molestation case. After a week-long trial, the jury has found Jordan Van Vertheusen guilty of sexually assaulting 2 young boys from 1995 to 2001. Jeanette Roche was there when the verdict came down this afternoon. Jeanette.
Well, Jackie, the verdict of guilty on both counts was read just shortly after 3 p.m. today. The victims and their families, however, were not present during the reading of that verdict. The defense was hoping that Van Vertheusen could remain free for the next 10 to 12 weeks before his sentencing, arguing that he's not a flight risk. Now, remember, this defendant was extradited to Canada to face these charges from Greece. Justice Nixon did order that he be taken into custody immediately. Now, here's what the Crown prosecutor had to say. Obviously a victory for you today. How do you feel right now?
You can't call it a victory. It's a day. It's over. Those complainants have been living with this for a lot of years. The process isn't over. There's still potential, an appeal period, and the sentencing. You heard Madam Justice Nixon set a date, October 28th, to schedule the sentencing, and in that time, a pre-sentence report can be compiled. As well, some victim impact statements might be presented.
Now, the Crown didn't give any indication as to what sort of sentence Van Vertheusen could be facing. It's in the judge's hands as of now, but the judge did schedule a date of October 28th for the pre-sentencing report. Jackie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. Now, meanwhile, the case of a Lethbridge pharmacist who pleaded guilty to fraud after $1,500 worth of prescription painkillers was stolen was also back before the courts today. 50-year-old Marvin Johnson of Raymond ran Lethbridge's Fairway Plaza Safeway. He was charged in June after police received reports of inventory discrepancies. Police say Johnson created fake computer records and stole hydromorphine cotton for personal use. Johnson was fired as manager of the pharmacy. He has pleaded guilty to fraud. Pre-sentence report is complete, but there are still some questions that need to be resolved. Johnson will be back in court October the 11th. RCMP have found human remains near Clooney. Someone walking near the Bow River found what has now been confirmed to be human remains. Gleason RCMP conducted a large search of the area for clues about the discovery. The RCMP say the medical examiner's office is now in the process of trying to identify the remains. Well, here's a mystery for you. How does nearly $250 million go missing? Well, that's what thousands of investors across Western Canada want to know. They put their money into land developments, including one near Calgary. They believed they were all foolproof. But as W5 reveals, after years of waiting, no land has been developed and their money is gone. Victor Malarick spoke with the former Lethbridge pastor at the center of the questions.
These 900 acres of land outside Calgary were supposed to sprout a residential community, complete with hotel, even a golf course in a development called Spruce Ridge. It sounded like a great investment opportunity for Chris Slattery and Darla Bjarnason.
That's where people were building. It seemed like the logical place.
And not just logical. The sales pitch promised a guaranteed rate of return of 6% per year for 5 years.
He said, you know what, look at the paperwork. We got all these guarantees. This is the one you want to invest in, Chris.
How much did you put in?
25 grand, everything we had.
And they weren't alone. Thousands of investors put money into numerous land projects headed up by this man, Ron Aikens. And he raised a lot of money, almost $250 million. But to date, nothing has been built. And now that Aikens companies are in court protection from their creditors, many investors like Chris Slattery worry that their money is all gone.
We were supposed to get it all in the end with the interest, and now we don't even have that.
Aikens blames the economy for the project's troubles and pleads for more time.
They have not lost all of their money. The timeline was always the biggest risk.
A big risk. The investments were made in something called the exempt market, meaning exempt from most regulatory oversight. However, the Alberta Securities Commission did go after Aikens in 2009. In a settlement, he admitted breaching Alberta's securities laws by authorizing potentially misleading statements about the guarantee on bonds in the marketing for Spruce Ridge. But it hasn't helped investors like Cress and Darla, who believe they'll never see their money again.
We're investing in something that was guaranteed. Alberta.
Victor Malrick, CTV News, Calgary.
Now you can catch the full story tomorrow. Fields of Dreams, 7 p.m. on CTV on the season premiere of W5. Well, Dory, a nice weekend shaping up. No rain, no snow, but there will be a bit of wind.
Yeah, there is going to be a little bit of wind, Jackie, and it's because of a coastal low that's making its way inland a little bit, just close enough that the area of high pressure that's dominating our weather sort of bumps against that low, and it really creates those windy conditions. So yeah, lots of sunshine though, but a little wind, but you know, you're not shoveling wind, as the expression goes. I'll have more details in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. Construction for a new, long-awaited West Side Arena and Curling Complex broke ground today. It's been a project the city's been working on since 2007, and as Brendan Miller reports, the facility should benefit the growing West Side population.
It's news West Lethbridge residents have been waiting for.
We are here today for the groundbreaking for the ice complex, which will house 2 NHL-sized arenas and 10-sheet curling rink. Fantastic facilities for our community and 2 great facilities that will last for the next 50 to 75 years.
Construction officially began today for a new state-of-the-art multi-purpose sports facility in West Lethbridge. The Crossings Ice Complex is expected to open in 2 years and serve as a vital facility for both the hockey and curling communities.
Our largest base, if you look at demographics as far as what we're looking for in kids, our largest base is on the west side now.
There's a lot of youth around here with the high schools and the library, and it's something we're really focusing on is curling at the youth ages.
The facility will be approximately 125,000 square feet and have spectator seating for around 900. Aside from the 2 new ice surfaces and 10 sheets of curling ice, it will also include a viewing area, dressing room, and food and beverage service. A dehumidification system will also be installed in the building to help with the condition of the curling ice, with a swimming pool slated to begin construction in 3 years.
It's been a long time coming, and it kept being put off, as you heard today, with elections and with changes of plans and additional monies that were available. But now we're here on this $40 million project, and it's a great day for the city.
$41.3 million is the estimated cost of the project.
Most of the funding comes from federal and provincial grants.
The city is expected to contribute around $5.5 million to the total cost.
So it works out pretty good for a $42 million project. Most of it is being funded through grants.
Once completed, the facility is expected to attract regional, provincial, and national tournaments.
Lethbridge is known for having very good recreational and sports facilities, and this is just going to be another feather in our cap in that regard.
Brendan Miller, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Once the new Crossings Ice Complex is completed, it's expected that the Lethbridge Curling Club will make that new facility its new home. Plans will then be made for the aging Civic Centre. The list of candidates running for Lethbridge City Council grew again today. Leah Switzer has announced she's running October 21st. She spent 2 terms as public school trustee, and she's a Lethbridge businesswoman. Switzer has extensive volunteer experience and is known for her work in education and governance. One of her big concerns, she says, is capital projects. She says building for the future shouldn't be at the cost of living for today. Well, men from southern Alberta walked the talk today and slipped on some slingbacks to prevent domestic violence. High heels and hairy legs don't exactly mix, but these guys got all dolled up for a good cause. From media personalities to the men in blue to even city aldermen. Guys from all over Lethbridge came out to walk a mile in her shoes. It's the 3rd annual event that was held at Galt Gardens over the lunch hour to support victims of domestic violence. All proceeds are going to the YWCA.
But really, the men of the community have been just awesome in coming forward saying that we want to do something for the YWCA and on this issue. And I think secretly a lot of them want to wear the shoes, is really what it is. But the community's historically been very supportive of our organization. We're very thankful for that.
I think this is a great event. It's good for men to get out there to show their support for women and children and domestic violence in the community.
That duct tape is a good idea. Now, last year, over 600 women and children used the services at YWCA. This year's event raised over $24,000. That number is expected to climb. Donations are still being counted. It's all about celebrating reading and advocating for literacy, and it's happening in Lethbridge this weekend. The annual Word on the Street Festival will be held around the main library from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Sunday. The festival is growing every year. A number of Alberta authors will be in attendance to meet with the public. Others will be joining in by Skype. There's also entertainment, a variety of activities, including a songwriting workshop. Organizers say the festival is for all ages and every member of the family, including teens.
So we have Marissa Meyer, who's the author of Cinder, which is kind of fairy tale meets sci-fi crazy space opera. We have some romance, some mystery, and then we also have a couple of comic book workshops because the teenagers really like things that are interactive that they can get their hands on and do themselves.
Sometimes we tend to think of early literacy as something very serious that you need to work very hard at, but in fact literacy and reading is really, really fun, and we want to bring that home to families, that sharing a craft together or listening to a storyteller, that is a literacy skill. That's early development right there, and it is fun.
And today, the markets closed down after word BlackBerry plans to lay off 4,500 employees. On the way back, Dory's got more on the forecast.